Welcome to The Longest Yard, a new series I am starting on my channel officially. So, the divisional round went pretty swimmingly, so now I'm going to talk about the championship round. Super Bowl 50 is 3 weeks away, so I'll break down the matchups, best players, and whatnot. We have my New England Patriots going against the Denver Broncos coming up at 3. It's going to be a pretty good game. I figured that Peyton Manning and Brady 17 will be a nice show. It's in Denver. Brady's had some bad luck in Denver with a 2-6 record as a starter. And Peyton and Brady are 2-2 against each other in the playoffs. But Brady has the overall advantage against Peyton 11 games to 5. Brady's thrown more touchdowns, has a better completion percentage and more passing yards, but Peyton's been a lot more accurate. So it's going to be a pretty fun game. Overall, I'm super excited for that one. Tom Brady, TB12, the pretty boy of the NFL. Even though he's on my New England Patriots, I know when they favor people. Brady had over 4,600 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. There was a patch where he's been sacked a lot. His offensive line has not been healthy the whole season. Brady got sacked 2+ times in the last 8 games prior to his game over Kansas City last week, where he threw 2 touchdowns and ran for a score. Brady's going to be a pretty big X factor in that offense, because if he gets hurt and that line stays healthy, it's going to be a slugfest. But that offensive line is the key to Brady's success. Talk about the defensive X factor. Chandler Jones, left end out of Syracuse. Jones has had an issue in the media just recently, but overall, Jones has had a stellar season with 13.5 sacks, a lot of rushes, and a lot of hits on the QB. Jones, since he's been out of the league, has had a little bit of an injury issue, but definitely overcame that this year and has done stellar. If he wants to get to Peyton Manning, he'll have to get through that tough line, including Evan Mathis, the left guard, where he's probably going to face some trouble. The Broncos' offensive line hasn't allowed as many sacks this year as New England's offensive line has, so it's going to be tricky. In order for New England to win, Chandler Jones will have to definitely impact that game. For Denver's offense has to be the sheriff, Peyton Manning. Manning did not have a stellar season. Only 2,247 yards, got sacked 16 times, and most interceptions in the NFL this year. Peyton's going to need to have a breakout game like he did last week against Pittsburgh with over 222 yards in that game. Manning can be very accurate when he's not rushed. His line only allowed 16 sacks the whole season, which is pretty good. Even though he had plantar fascia in his foot, he seems to be back up and upright, with good receivers like Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders leading the way for him, and even having some good tight end threat later in the deep passing game. Manning's definitely going to be on track. New England's corners are not that good in terms of defending deep passes, so it's going to be a nice game to see how Manning can cooperate against the defensive line and try to get the ball out quick. Need that bull rush on defense, which they definitely get from DeMarcus Ware, the right outside linebacker. Ware's had a pretty stellar career, but this season's been kind of off for him, only getting 7.5 sacks and 75 tackles. Ware's had a foot injury that kept him out of 4 games this year, but when he's been in the game, he's caused definitely amount of disruptions, with Von Miller and Chris Harris Jr. definitely bringing some good pass defense as well as rush when they can. The Broncos' defense was first in total yardage all season, so Brady's going to have a really tough time against that Denver defense. Where their offense doesn't excel, the defense definitely makes up for it. It's going to be a very rough game for 2 very rough and tough teams. Break it down, tough defense and tough offense. I think the Patriots will win this one a 23-21 or 23-16. It's bound to be a show, so I find New England going to Super Bowl 50. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. Time to talk about another great game, the Panthers-Cardinals game this week. 2 high-power offenses with some pretty stunning defensive performance as well. This game's going to be a very offensive game, I feel. It's going to be a lot of running, not too much passing unless we get really desperate, and a lot of different packages used on both offenses. Both coaches have had a lot of experience with other teams, so it's going to be a very interesting battle of mixed offense and defensive packages. Fitzgerald is my offensive X factor. He had 109 catches, 1,217 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Larry can get out in open space very easily. He always works against number 1 corner, so Josh Norman will have a very tough task at hand come Sunday. And with supporting receivers like John Brown, J.J. Nelson, and Michael Floyd, it's going to be a very tough task to see how far Larry will get out in the open. Including Larry has a heart of gold, so he reaches out to his community, being the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. So it's going to be very fun to see how electric he'll be come Sunday. That Carolina defense will have a very tough challenge ahead of them. Defense, Arizona's Patrick Peterson will definitely give you a good show. Peterson has stopped names like Calvin Johnson, Antonio Brown, and Keenan Allen without a touchdown. He's very quick, has been voted to Pro Bowls every season he's been in the league, all 5 of them. And he has quick ball vision, so he stops guys in their tracks before they can get far down the field. If you want a good defensive showdown, Ted Ginn is definitely going to get one in Patrick Peterson this Sunday. About this guy sometime. Ace Boogie, Super Cam, whatever you want to call him. Cam Newton is Carolina's definite offense X factor. He might not just be Carolina's, but the whole game's X factor. Newton had over 3,800 passing yards, 35 passing touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns, 636 rushing yards, but only 10 interceptions. Newton has been phenomenal running the ball, passing the ball, and sometimes you never know what Newton will run, whether he sneaks, runs to the outside, option. You better have a lot of your defense ready prepared for Cam Newton, because he can knock you down if he so inclines. Newton is very quick, and he's also very powerful at 240 pounds. Cam Newton will definitely put on a show no matter where you are, whether you're in your stadium or out. Newton will definitely give your defense a scare. It's going to be a rough game for the Cardinals. There's a lot of good players, but I decided on Luke Kuechly for the defensive X factor. Kuechly can rush on a lot of levels when it comes to blitzing or playing zone. Kuechly, when he intercepts the ball, can run for touchdowns. He returned 3 this year for touchdowns, including 1 against Russell Wilson last week. It's very hard to decide where to guard Luke Kuechly with your tackles or guards or even the center, because he can come on a blitz, play zone. Kuechly can be all over the field, and it'll be really hard to spot number 59. Overall, it's going to be not as challenging as facing Cam Newton, but just watch out if you're a running back, because Kuechly can come in real fast, real quick. And it is very, very scary. Trust me. Game predictions. I think Carolina will win 28-21. I want Arizona to win, but I don't think they will. So if we look at the board here, in terms of predictions, I see it being New England and Carolina for the Super Bowl. It's going to be a show in a couple weeks when that happens, but until then, it will be very, very fun just seeing what happens on media days and when the teams arrive and other things like that. So see you after the Pro Bowl for a Super Bowl analysis. This has been The Longest Yard, so see you soon.